Hello and welcome to a new vlog and video of the cruise vibes, and today we're going to take a look at days 2 and 3 on board of the Swiss Pearl of ReiseJung. I was on board as one of the cruise managers, so the video was done in cooperation with ReiseJung. Here on the sea map you can see our route. Today we are going from Boppard to Rüdesheim and back to Hanau. We are starting early in the morning. After arriving in Boppard and after a nice breakfast, it was time to leave the ship and discover the small city of Boppard located in the Middle Rhine Valley. Of course, it was time to take some shots of our beautiful ship, the Swiss Pearl of Scylla, located at the end of the city close to a chairlift up to this hill in the background, where you have a fantastic view over the Rhine River. And from there it's a walk of about 10 to 15 minutes into the city center. So with this quite good docking location, it was time to explore Boppard. Of course, it was still very calm in the city as it was early morning. We had the whole morning for visiting the city. We were leaving during lunchtime, but that is more than enough time for this small village. There are quite a few nice half-timbered houses to see, a few shops, a few cafes, and also some more nice buildings like the St. Severus Church, which we can see here, which is worth visiting mainly for the glass windows. They're looking very beautiful, so take your time to visit this building as well. For international tourists like Americans or Chinese guests, there are also some souvenir stores, but I would not recommend visiting them because you're actually not getting a nice souvenir from Germany. Mostly it's made in China. And that does not only apply for Boppard but for all souvenir stores in Germany, of course, unless you can actually make sure that things are handmade there. The city is a bit calm, not too many shops, but still a lot of nice buildings. Few shops are available, of course, so still worth visiting. Back on the Rhine, it was time to watch some other cruise ships sailing past Boppard, like in this case the Spirit of the Rhine of Saga Cruises. And then it was also time to head back to our ship, the Swiss Pearl. We were leaving Boppard in a few minutes, heading for Rüdesheim, and that means that we're now going through the wonderful Middle Rhine Valley, the most beautiful part of the River Rhine. Back on board, it was firstly time for lunch. Lunch was served as a buffet, as a Bavarian buffet today, which is not typical for Scylla, but it was done because of the topic of this cruise being an Oktoberfest cruise. So here we can see the lovely invitation in front of the restaurant, and here we can see a part of the buffet, and here you can see my plate. Of course, it's not looking as nice as it is when it's coming directly from the kitchen, but I tried my best. And in the meantime, we left Boppard and headed for Rüdesheim. I was doing the announcements about the sites, but still I found some time to take a couple of shots, like here the castle cuts. Shortly before reaching the famous Lorelei, here you can see the monument of the Lorelei, which is rather small and hard to discover, so you need to be very careful to not miss it. And behind that is the Lorelei Rock, which is probably the most famous site of the Middle Rhine Valley. This area is quite tough for our ships and captains, as we have a strong current, tight curves, so you need to be very careful sailing on this part of the Rhine, but it's also, of course, the most beautiful part of the River Rhine in Germany. After the Lorelei follows the city of Oberwesel with a few more sites like this wonderful church, and of course there is also a castle. Here on this part of the Rhine there are countless castles, so this is a very scenic part of the river. My personal highlight is not the Lorelei but the castle Pfalzgrafenstein. It's a castle located on an island in the middle of the Rhine, so a very beautiful sight. And once you sail past it, you have a beautiful view where you can take a nice picture or video, like in this case from the castle Pfalzgrafenstein, the castle of Kaup in the background, and also the city. Here you can see that shot, so this for me is the most beautiful part of the river. We are then continuing on, sailing past the small city of Bacharach, and then we are getting already closer to our destination for the afternoon, which is Rüdesheim. In Rüdesheim we will be arriving in the afternoon and we will staying until late evening. And then we are already heading back to Hanau. Here we are already approaching the city of Rüdesheim, very famous destination for river cruise ships, always busy, always a lot of ships there, so we were also docking in second row next to the Antonia of Phoenix Reisen and Reifers. In this case it was chartered to a Dutch company for a party cruise. Just a couple of meters away from our docking location we visited a winemaker and we had a wine tasting. Enjoyed some nice wines, of course, with explanations from the winemaker. So that was a very nice afternoon. Of course, wine tasting is always a nice excursion. And after that we headed back on board and it was time for dinner. Also dinner was served as a buffet, in this case another Bavarian buffet, just because of the topic of the cruise. Of course, otherwise it would be served à la carte. And then it was time for the evening program with the Trenkwalder, and here we can listen to the music. As you can see, the atmosphere was great once again. It was a very nice evening because on the Antonia next to us there was another party with a very different topic. That was quite interesting to have two party ships next to each other, but we were leaving a bit earlier as we have to arrive in Hanau in the next morning. But the party of course continued on board, as you can see. Very good vibes on board. The Trenkwalder made a great show and the highlight was at the end of their set, the Neuberger Buam joined them and spontaneously they played a few songs together, and we are going to listen one more time to their music and to the great atmosphere on board. In the meantime, we've reached Mainz, the last city on the Rhine. Of course, also a very important destination for river cruise ships, so we could watch a lot of ships being docked here in this beautiful city. And here we are going under the Theodor Heuss Bridge. Shortly afterwards we are already reaching the river Main, on which we are then continuing on back to Hanau. Here we can see some more river cruise ships. As I said, Mainz is a pretty busy port with a lot of ships sailing past it or staying there. And here we are already close to the entrance into the river Main. Here we are reaching the Main again. And now Sundeck, of course, closed again. We are heading back to Hanau. On the next morning, the weather was not very nice and I woke up shortly before arriving into the port of Hanau, and there it was already time to say goodbye to the wonderful cabin firstly, then it was time for breakfast, and then it was time to say goodbye in general to this wonderful ship. If you enjoyed this video and if you actually liked the ship, you could join us in April, because then we have a sister ship of the Swiss Pearl, the Swiss Splendor, which is just a bit longer, for a cruise to the Netherlands, and you will find a link to this cruise in the video description. But now it's time to leave the wonderful Swiss Pearl, and that is the end of this video. And here, as always, you can see when the next video will be uploaded and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video then.